Let's start. Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityormamritam gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. All right. So Pulkit did revise everything from the previous class.
Yes, though previous class was very paradoxic, but I was able to revise some concepts. Yeah.
Just explain and go through what you remember. It doesn't matter if
First
you
of
captured
all,
everything.
initially we were talking about karma, vidya, and avidya. Talking about karma is that you were telling us that each and everything we do in our life creates a karma. And it's not that a person who is sitting idle is not creating a karma, because people must be thinking about him because he's not doing anything. He's not doing anything for his parents, for his country. So that would also create a karma. Talking about another things which you added were avidya and vidya. Talking about avidya is, it is the knowledge of tangible assets, everything which we can see or we can touch. So like, what is a computer, what is a laptop, what is a fruit, it's all avidya. Talking about vidya is, it is the utmost knowledge of true self, and also the truth, ultimate truth, which is really difficult to grasp. But yes, vidya is something which is which can never be seen, apparently. Talking about another things which you added were now three teachings which are added in Upanishad. So which are already always there, inclusive. So first was Brahma Sarupa. So it tells about who we are. If I'll today, let's suppose I lose my voice, or I lose my ears, I lose my eyes. So it will not matter. I'll be there. I'll always be there. So Brahma Swarupa will tell us what is our ultimate destination, and what is the truth, and what is the true self. Talking about another thing which we learned was Srishti. It is Jiva and Jagat. Jagat is Sansar, Maya, and everything. Talking about the third thing which we learned was sadhana. I think Vimal ma'am is not present, but she, told us that she can't continue certain things. We all are, getting some barriers in between. We are not able to continue, maybe singing, dancing, anything. So for that, we have to complete that sadhana. Our sadhana should be such that we are always forever with that thing. Like, you are doing your Vedic chants, you're doing your puja every day because your sadhana is perfect in it. So Upanishad will tell how we can do that sadhana so that we are able to focus on our studies, or on our work, or any occupation or any work we are engaged in. That's what I remember.
Excellent, lovely. I think you did give a synopsis very nicely. Sonal, any thoughts before we begin? Any takeaways from the last class?
We also talked about we're talking about the different gunas, like the tamas, rajas, and sattvic state, and to go from like from the uninitiated state, which is tamas, you have to go to the rajas state, and then to go to the sattvic states, because you can't go from tamasic to sattvic. So you have to actually perform action in the world. And then, I was starting to revise, but I didn't get a chance to get to this part. But when we were talking about the three aspects of sattva or sattvic, was it sattvic? Where the vicharanam, gati, and avasadhanam, which is like weakening of karma. Vicharanam is weakening of the karma, and the vasanas, the mental attitudes and inclinations. I'm assuming that's sattvic, right? Gati is movement towards absolute and Brahman. and avasadanam is destruction of ignorance and avidya. So at that point, you won't make more karma, and karma will start weakening.
Yes.
That was the other thing that we talked about.
Excellent. Any other takeaways? I know that's what we talked about. Were there any questions? Were there any thoughts? Anything that stuck with you? So far, it's fleeting. Okay. Let's go back. Okay. All right. So everybody has understood what Upanishad is. Yeah. Upanishad is this journey towards self-illumination. Upanishad is Vidya. Yeah. Or at least an attempt to get to Vidya. What kind of attitude do we need to study Upanishad? We've understood. Yeah. Sahana vavatu, sahano bhunaktu, sahaviryam karvavahi, tejasvina vadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. We've understood that also. We've understood Kathopnishad as well. Like, what is Kathopnishad? Who's given Kathopnishad? What is the importance of Kathopnishad? We've gone through all of this. If you find it difficult to retain at the moment or remind yourself as to what it was that we had discussed, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But we have discussed all of these things. Is that okay? Is that a fair space where we are at? Okay, right. So today I want to help you understand this whole concept of Vidya we had talked about. I want to explain it a little bit. We had talked about Vidya in the previous class. I want to explain it a little bit as to what is Vidya and what does it mean to be in that state of Vidya, because you find it very hard to understand that. Hmm. It is like this. Let's go back to a very simple story of, everybody knows this character Buddha, Gautam Buddha, Siddhartha. Yeah, very simple story. The story was that this beautiful child was born, and when this child was born, um, the court, the royal astrologers predicted that this child will rule the world. Definitely, the child will rule the world. However, either the child will rule the world as a king, or the child will rule the world as an ascetic. Yeah, as either he will rule the world by the strength and power of his might, or he will rule the world with his word and his thought and his illumination, his light. So the king was a very, of course, imagine if somebody has had a child like Buddha, the father must not be stupid, right? So the king was a very, very smart man, and he thought to himself that anybody who rules the world through their light as a pauper must be in some which way connected to the divine, right? Some which way connected to the higher space where they're not interested in material things. Now, the only way that somebody can be propelled, and this is very important to understand, the only way any human being will be propelled towards the search of the divine is if they have encountered some kind of difficulty, some kind of disease, some kind of experience of death, some kind of problem, some kind of dukkha. Here is the key. Dukkha or hardships or something that's not working in our lives is the first point where we start to seek the divine. Right? If you have no dukkha, if you have no difficulty, if you have only pleasurable experiences, there will be no need for you to seek the divine. Thus, the great king made sure that Buddha in his life did not experience any hardship. He did not only not experience any hardship, he was not wanting for anything, he was anyways the prince, but he did not even encounter any imagery of disease, any imagery of old age, any imagery of death. People in the palace were all young and vibrant. Old people were always replaced. If somebody was diseased, they were not allowed to come. The palace was a protected space. He was not wanting for anything. Till the age of 21, he got married, he had a son. He had never seen any disease, any death, any hardship. Anyways, as a prince, you don't see any hardships. But he hadn't seen even the natural reality of life. Hmm. So one day, as chance would have it, he got tired and he moved out of the palace. He wanted to take a round around, like outside the palace. He took his charioteer and he went outside the palace. Now, charioteer is always very important. We even see in Bhagavad Gita, charioteer is very important in showing you the light of life. So the charioteer goes and takes him out, and he goes on his chariot, and he first comes across a very old man. He's like, "Oh my God, this is so ugly. Who is this? Is this like some kind of freak? What is this?" So the charioteer says, "No, no, this is normal. Everybody becomes like this. This is old. This is an old man." So Buddha is very surprised, like, "Oh my God, am I also going to become an old man?" The charioteer says, "Yes, there is no escaping old age. Everybody will become an old man. So I will also become ugly." Yes, you will also become like this. You will get wrinkles, you will have difficulty in walking, your back will bend. All of this will happen to you. It will happen to your father also, it will happen to your son also, it will happen to everybody. No escaping this.
Namaste, Didi.
Namaste, Guru. So he's very shocked. And then, anyways, the chariot moves forward and he sees one guy who's been left alone on the street. He's coughing, he's hurting, he's holding his stomach, he's very sick. And again, Buddha asks the charioteer, "What is this? He's never seen somebody like this. Like, this person is diseased. He has a virus, he has a infection, and people have left him, and he's in extreme pain." Buddha had never experienced pain. It's like, okay, will this happen to me also? It could happen. It's a very real possibility. So far, you've been very lucky, but definitely this is a possibility. This could happen to people. And there is no escaping disease, just like there is no escaping old age. With old age comes more disease. So, okay, he's even more stunned. And then the third person he sees is a person who's dead. People are carrying him on the shoulders, and it's like, what happened to this one? He's not even walking. Like, he's dead. What do you mean dead? Buddha doesn't know what death is. Think about a man who doesn't know what death is. Like, what death? Like, there is a time when this body will become useless, it will become still. You mean it'll happen to me also? Yes. Everybody who's born will definitely die. It will happen to you. So Buddha is in deep contemplation. It's like, oh my God, this is really scary. I'm going to have disease. I'm going to have old age. Not only me, my dear father will have it, and my newborn son also will meet this lot. This is the end for my newborn son also. So says, my beautiful wife will become like this, ugly. And he's done. He is completely out of his mind. And then they go a little bit further, and He sees a monk. He's a saint. The saint is vibrant. Maybe old. He's smiling and he's happy and he's radiating. It's like, who's this? Like, he's a monk. Like, why is he so happy? There is so much death and disease and old age. Is he not scared? Is he not bothered? So the Sarathi says, the charioteer says, no, he has conquered death. He has conquered fear. He has no pain in his head or heart because he has no fear in his head or heart. It's like, okay, that's something like, I don't want to be afraid of these things. If they are going to happen, I don't want to be afraid. And they go back to the palace. This is his one and only experience of the outside world. Buddha goes back to the palace. Not for long, he leaves it right away to take sannyas. And then the rest of the story, we know that he reaches the state of godhood or Buddha. Now, this is the journey of every single human being. The journey of every single human being is in 3 steps. First step is Buddhu, stupid, ignorant. We don't know. We live in the ignorance of what's going to happen. When a few years ago, Pulkit asked me, how do you do it? Like, I'm for so many years ahead of you. Obviously, I can do it. When you reach my age, you will be able to do it. But the ignorance in the individual, not this particular individual, all of us, the ignorance in all of us is that we don't know how to do it, or we don't know if that will happen. We're not very sure. That ignorance not only about whether we can do it or not, but also about um, things that will happen to you. Will you face difficulty? Yes, you will face difficulty. Will you face losses? Yes, you will face losses. Will you have to rise? Will you become old? Yes, you will become old. Will you always be able to run 5 miles a day? No, you will not be able to run 5 miles a day every day. Yeah, so there's so much ignorance in a normal human being. And even though we are not Buddha, we have not been protected, we have been exposed to life and such, we still continue to walk with blinders. Does that make sense? We continue to walk with blinders. We do not want to face reality. We do not want to face the truth. What is the truth? Buddhu, ignorant. Yeah. What is the truth? The truth is that we are bound. We are baddha. Baddha means bound. Baddha to what? This lot. Bound to what? This lot, this destiny. We will be born. When the baby dies, then the boy will be born. When the boy dies, then the man will be born. When the man dies, then the old man will be born. We are constantly dying and we are constantly being reborn. We are all going to go through various stages of life. So birth, growth, maturity, decline, death. We are bound to these various stages of life. Yeah. We are also bound to the 4 states. What are the 4 states or 4 essentials called? Bound to 4 essentials. What are these 4 essentials? Food. Cannot live without food. Ahar. First, I said we are bound. Bound to what? Bound to the 5 states of existence. What are the 5 states of existence? Born, birth, growth, maturity, decline, and death. These will happen to everybody. We are bound to that. Then there are dependencies. What are these dependencies? Or natural instincts, let us call them. Therefore, ahar, food. We are bound to it. We cannot live without it. We cannot do without it. Naturally connected to it. Fear. Most of us are very aware of what that is. Constantly afraid. Afraid of not doing well in life. Afraid of, not afraid. Fear is not of some kind of animated character that's going to show up from under the bed. Right? Not like that. There's no fantasy character. We have a lot of fear in life only. Will I be able to do something? Will I not be able to do something? Will I be able to reach somewhere? Will I not be able to? Will my children be able to do this? Will my children not be able to do it? Will my children succeed in life? Oh my God, I have to protect my children. Let me build a house. Let me garner resources. Let me take care of. I'm so afraid. Every human being is constantly afraid that they are not going to be able to. You know, nobody really can imagine, like, if you think about it, if you go out of the house. I gave this example many, many times, but people hardly understand it. I'll give it again. You go out of the house, say you forgot to carry your purse. Are you going to be afraid? So it wasn't just to the roadside shop that you had to go to. Maybe you have boarded the plane without your wallet. Now are you afraid? Right? Imagine Vivekananda, he arrived at Chicago without any money. What state of mind would this be, that an individual can land in a new country without a penny to their name and believe that they will be fine, they will be able to attend that big conference that they've come here for? Like, what state must that be? It's a different state altogether. The other day my mother was like, I never have enough money, like nobody gives me money. She's complaining about my dad. My dad said everything is there in her account, whatever she wants, it's there. No, but I don't have cash. That normal. I think this happens normally in every household. No big deal about this. But it's the state. See the mental state. The state is a state of fearfulness. The mental state is a state of fearfulness. Also a state of ego. पूछना पड़ जाएगा किसी से. I'll have to ask somebody. I'll have to show that I don't have it. Right? Why is this anxiety coming? It's coming because she'll have to display, she will have to ask, she'll have to either ask me or my father. If she needs something, she'll have to ask. So that's why the whole concept of bhikshu, right? You become a bhikshu. When in olden days people were sent to school to study, first thing they learned was how to become a bhikshu. Bhiksham dehi. Mata bhiksham dehi. पिता भिक्षाम देहि, गुरु भिक्षाम देहि. जब तक भिक्षा लेना नहीं आता तब तक फियर जाएगा क्या? For as long as you don't know how to become absolutely empty and without resources and still exist and still be fine. Fine, because I can ask. What's the problem? Where is the problem? Fine, you don't have cash. You can ask. Where is the problem? So this is the fear, one of the types of fears that we are constantly bound by, always in fear, always running around hither thither because of fear. Fear I will become late. Fear I will not be on time. Fear I will miss something. Fear I'll remain behind my class. Fear I will get, if I get ahead, I will be alone. Let me stay with the group. See, so much fear. It's a human nature that we cannot rise above fear. But if I continue to practice the state of a bhikshu, then will that fear be there? Anyways, many such fears, you can start to expand it and you will be able to arrive at many, many possibilities of fear. Sonal has her own fears, Neha has her own fears. I'm sure Bharat has his own fears, Mamta has her own fears to talk about. There are fears, there are so many fears. So human beings are constantly subjugated to fear, subjugated to ahar. Ahar means food. Yeah. And there are other two. The third one is procreation. Yeah. There's a natural instinct. Human beings, like animals, will procreate. And animals at least follow seasons. Human beings will not follow seasons also. Procreation is a natural requirement for human beings, which is called maithuna. Ahar, bhaya, maithuna. It's the Sanskrit term. Maithuna. And the fourth thing every human being is subjugated to is nidra. Nidra, sleep. There is no human being who does not sleep except Arjun, who had conquered sleep. So he was special. But no human being who has conquered sleep. No human being who's conquered hunger. No human being who's conquered fear. No human being who's conquered the sexual desire. It's not possible. You cannot conquer desire, you cannot conquer fear, you cannot conquer hunger, and you cannot conquer sleep. These are definitely always going to be the curses of human existence, rather, existence itself. There is no difference between animals and human beings because we are all cursed or we are all afflicted by these. Fear, ahar, bhaya, ahar, maithuna, and nidra. This is what makes us human. In fact, this is what makes us animalistic. We are even worse than animals. We sleep more than animals. We eat more than animals. We procreate more than animals. Yeah. And we are afraid in a variety of ways more than animals. I just gave some examples. Right? So we are talking about from Buddhu to पता ही नहीं है और जब पता भी चले, when we come to know also, then where do we arrive at? We arrive at this state where we are bound. Sonal has been trying to work on her diet, and she sometimes is able to control, sometimes is not able to control. एक आहार ही छोड़ने की दिक्कत इतने दिन से चल रही है. Mamta has been working on fear for 3 years. She's been working on fear. चल ही रहा है ना? So everybody is working on these problems. Even when you're aware you're working on these problems, you realize that you are bound. You're baddha. So how do I become Buddha from baddha? That is the question. How do I become Buddha from baddha? Not only am I
I'm sorry, how do you spell Buddha? Like because you were saying Buddhu, right? Is that a
Buddhu,
different word?
Buddhu. Buddhu.
Okay, that's what I had. Okay. All right.
Baddha, Baddha. Baddha. And Buddha, you know the spelling.
Mm-hmm.
Buddha, Buddhu, same.
How? Buddhu is stupid. Buddha is realized.
But Gautam Buddha was Buddhu earlier.
Earlier, he was Buddhu when he didn't even know what death is or what disease is. He was Buddhu, no? When he took his walk, when he took his ride outside, he became Baddha. He realized we are bound. We are bound in this life. So, maybe a small little child, like when I met Pulkit, he was Buddhu, ignorant, right? But in our association, even though we are talking about things and we are educating, the only realization is that we are bound. We are bound. We are still stuck. I'm still struggling. I'm still working on my discipline. I'm still working on my diet. I'm still working on my concentration. I'm still stuck. This realization will be there with any individual who's moved from the state of Buddhu to anybody who's aspiring to be Buddha will move from Buddhu to Buddha. Correct? Clear?
So just to make sure, Buddha is the first state, second state, which is the 4 unconscious states, blinder states. The second state is Buddha, which is where you realize that you're bound after like Buddha saw the different phases. And then you get to Buddha.
Buddha, right?
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So you are bound by your body and its states. You're bound by your requirements as a being. You're bound by fear, you're bound by hunger, you're bound by desire, you're bound by all of these are all binding to you. I didn't elaborate the 5 stages of um, a being, but I'm sure you understand that we're bound to be born, we're bound to grow, we're bound to mature, we're bound to die, we're bound to decay, like that. We're bound. We cannot do anything about it. Can I do something about my black hair or when I'm young, or my white hair when I'm old? There is nothing that I can do about it. I'm bound by that natural process. I may delay it with supplements and stuff, or plastic surgery or cosmetics, but can I ever be free from it?
So do most people stay in Buddha and then sadhaks stay in Buddha? Is that kind of what you're saying in that?
Yes. And a sadhak, ho ya na ho, whether you are a sadhak or you are not a sadhak, the moment realization, like the moment life hits you, you come to the state of Baddha.
So 99% of people are in Buddha.
Correct. 99.99999%.
Right. That's what I was gonna clarify.
Okay. All of us are Baddha. Any time somebody like Gautam Buddha, when Siddhartha moves out of his palace, he becomes Baddha. He realizes, oh my God. A little child, when at some point from a little child will become Baddha. Small child, Buddhu. As soon as comes to a certain stage, Baddha. School to jana hi hai. You have to go to school. There is no escaping that. You cannot play forever. There is no escaping that. So already it's Baddha. Have to go to sleep. 7 o'clock means sleep time. 2 o'clock means have to eat. If you don't eat, you're not going to get up from the table. Look at the child, how bound it is, right? The child has a realization, Baddha. Little babies are not bound. They can cry their way out of everything. But as the child starts to grow, the child becomes Baddha. Clear? Yeah? Good with everybody? Yeah. So you understood the 5 states of being, the 5 requirements of the being. There are also 5 senses that bind us. Everybody knows the 5 senses: sound, taste, touch, smell, hearing. Most animals are bound by one or odd sense. They're not bound by all senses. Human beings are bound by all senses. Animals can be bound by one odd sense. For example, elephants are bound by touch. So if an elephant touches another elephant, the elephant is likely to follow. They have some kind of deep dependence on touch. So when you need to capture elephants, what happens is a trained elephant is sent into the jungle and they touch another elephant and then they run back. It's like, how we play kho in India. Kho ही कहते हैं ना? नहीं, kabaddi. Kabaddi. You touch the other person and you come back. The person will have to follow. So like that. Elephants are bound by touch. When you think of an animal which is bound by sight, it's a very easy one. Think about it.
Owl, Didi.
No, sight.
Dog. Cheetah.
Sight. What gets tempted when they see?
Dog or cat.
Moth. A moth. A moth cannot help come to the flame, even though it can see it's the flame. Once it sees the light, it has no choice but to come. So it is bound by its sense of sight. What do I mean by bound? When I say bound, it means that this sense can take them to their extinction. This sense can take them to their extinction. So moths are bound by sight. Elephants are bound by touch. Fish is bound by what do you think it dies with? How does a fish die?
Sound, I don't know. Sound?
Taste, beta. It bites, it baits. It bites on the bait. Taste. Fish is bound by taste. Because of its need to taste everything, it dies. Yeah. Moth, because of its need to come nearer and nearer to the flame, it dies. Fish, because it needs to taste, it dies. Right? So like that, animals can be bound. Deer are known for their hearing. Like if they hear something, they have to go see what it is. They can be drawn by their hearing. Like that.
Dogs have all 5 senses, right?
No, 5 senses are there, but dogs don't die because of any of the senses, right?
They aren't bound like us.
They're not bound like us. In fact, they're not even bound like deer, and they will not
Not
die.
even a sense.
No, they're better. They're better than us. They're better than us. We're all bound by senses, but bound to the extent that we will be willing to let our lives go because of that sense is is a different state altogether, which happens to us. आप बूढ़े लोगों को देखिए, you look at old people, they will not stop eating what they are told not to eat. They will not, they cannot. They will do it till they die. Right? I've been telling my father to not listen to the news for like 40 years of my life, maybe 40. But he will continue to listen. It may not be good for him. Continue to listen.
I was going to say that I feel like the dominant senses for us are probably like taste and hearing, right? Like, or I don't know if you'd consider them just like
And
the
our sight
aspect of,
also, look at women who will not stop debauching their faces for the way they look. कहाँ रुकता है आदमी?
right, in terms of touch as well.
Correct. So human beings are not like that. We can, there are movies made on how somebody was tickled to death, for example. Murder mysteries, or how physical touch was the cause of death. Constant physical stimulation, sensory stimulation of touch. So human beings do not have any control over this. I'm giving examples of some animals who are prone to this in one way or the other, one sense or the other. Human beings can be dragged to death with every sense, every single sense, dragged to their demise with every sense. This is the kind of dependence that we have. Baddha, I'm talking about how an individual is bound, not only bound to hunger, but bound to taste. Not only bound to procreation, but bound to touch. Yeah. So there is a lot of we're just bound. And the idea of studying an Upanishad is to reach that state of Buddha. How do you reach that state of Buddha if we are all bound? What is Buddha? What is Vidya? What is that Vidya? Is Vidya some state where you stop existing?
You're talking about just releasing what's binding you, right? So
Correct.
it's like a progressive release of binding.
Progressive तो होता ही नहीं बेटा. Progressive होता तो तूने खाना छोड़ दिया होता अभी तक.
There's a lot of things that I've broken, like in my life. I was just looking even at the 4 states, the essential states. I mean, I have I have way less attachment than I did through sadhana 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so there is some kind of progressive loss of those
Progressive,
things.
yes, but realization, no.
No.
Right? You can say I am Baddha at this state, like I'm 10% bound, or I'm 20% bound, or I'm 50% bound, or I'm 100% bound. Bound you are. Correct.
That just means that I have to keep doing it in each lifetime until I get to a point where
I'm not saying that.
10%.
I'm explaining it to you. I'm explaining. Wait, listen. I'm explaining. This is the big problem. Has everybody understood the problem? Yeah. Even the sadhaks, when they are like Sonal, like Mamta, like Pulkit, like Ananya, anybody, even the sadhaks, when they are working, when they are striving, when they're working on this, even when they're working on this, the hold of this, let me call it a knot, it may loosen a little bit, but it never goes away. It doesn't go away. Everybody is baddha. 10% baddha or 99% baddha, baddha, baddha. Yes. So it's not incremental. It's not something that you have to work towards. It's not something that comes with practice. Yes, all of those go into it. But the state of Buddha is an arrival. It's an arrival or the experience of yourself outside of these bonds, where you are fearless, completely fearless, where you are without hunger, devoid of hunger, completely without hunger. You can do without food, where you are without desire, completely without desire. This is not marginal. Where you are absolutely free. Death doesn't touch you, decay doesn't touch you, disease doesn't touch you. You're free. Who can say that they have arrived at that state? So Upanishad helps you arrive at that state. That is a state of realization. It is a state of being. It's a state of realization. When I said Vidya, Vidya, everything else is avidya. That one is Vidya.
So Gautam Buddha was able to avoid hunger, sleep, and everything.
Yes. He
So
had
he never
risen.
slept after that.
He did. You will find a lot of saints have reached that state. I keep getting asked, even though I sleep a good few hours, I keep getting asked, when do you sleep? Normal. It is a very normal thing to arrive at that state where you can, but to be completely free, marginal Buddha, but not free, not Buddha.
Only Buddha was free of that.
Buddha was free, Mahavir was free, Guru Nanak Dev was free. There are many, 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 many characters in mythology and history who have risen above the normal state of Buddha and arrived at the state of Buddha. I'm taking Buddha as an example. It doesn't mean he's the only one. Upanishads were written because so many people arrived there, right? Because so many people arrived at Sat, the Satya, the Satyam. Think about this, Pulkit. When you were in high school, yeah, versus now where you are in senior secondary, do you want to go back to high school? Do you want to go back to high school?
Yes.
With the problems of the high school?
No.
But if you were put today in high school, today, will you face the problems of the high school?
Apparently, no.
Apparently, क्यों?
Not at all.
ऐसे ही जब इंसान बद्धा से बुद्धा हो जाता है, when somebody rises their level list, now you are at a different level altogether. Coming down 50 notches and existing there will create no bondage for you. Does that make sense? Say if I were to go back in time, my past was very torturous and difficult. If I were to go back in time as me today, will that past continue to be torturous? Why? Because I'm coming from a different level altogether. Do you understand this? Because I'm coming from a different vantage point, all the little problems that I am seeing at that time and space will not be problems at all. Right? So Baddha is a state which is lower, and Buddha is a state which is higher. Once you've arrived there, then coming down to this basic level of existence, it's okay, whatever. So always remember what we're trying to do is arrive at that state which is completely free, free of these physical modalities, free of these physical bondages, free of the sensory bondages, free of the bondages of karma. There is a state that we can arrive at, we can exist at, which is higher than this. And therefore, when you have arrived at that state, you may continue to live, but then the problems here will not seem like problems. Then when Angulimar comes in front of you, it will not seem like a dacoit, it will seem like a little child coming to play with you. Makes sense? We are not afraid when the child points a gun at us and says, raise your hands. Are we afraid when the toy gun is pointed at us? We're not afraid. We're even smiling. So that's the state that you have to get to. This state is the state of Vidya. This state is the state of Brahma, Atma, many names. It's a superior state of existence. When you are able to arrive there, everything in your otherwise normal material life starts to become easy, not difficult, not something we have to be worried about, not something which can make us baddha anymore. Make sense? Yeah. Even better, go to junior school now, Pulkit. Will classes be a problem? Will following the schedule be a problem? Will potty training be a problem? Will eating your lunch be a problem? These were your problems when you were in junior school. Leaving your mom and going to school was a big problem. Will it be a problem today? So it's a different elevated state. वो बच्चा नहीं सोच सकता कि कल ऐसा होगा कि मुझे अपनी माँ की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. कि मैं अपने आप बैग उठा के स्कूल जा सकूंगा, मुझे किसी को छोड़ने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. बच्चा नहीं सोच सकता ऐसे. बच्चा तो बाउंड है, बद्धा. है ना? कॉलेज गोइंग भी बच्चा ये नहीं सोच सकता कि किसी दिन ऐसा भी आएगा कि माँ बाप हमसे पूछेंगे, हमें उनसे पूछने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. बच्चा नहीं
Like
सोचता।
in one of your videos you added, like with Saraswati, performances and all, you were saying that once you're doing 10 minutes of practice for Kathak, it's really difficult. But once you reach there, that 10 minutes will look like what that 10 minutes now I can do 1 hour. I can dance for 1 hour. So that's, I think we are in the levels and stages of that.
Correct. But again, going back to what Sonal was saying, it is not progressive, darling. It is a different vantage point altogether. ये मैंने साधना के लिए बोला, ये मैंने रियलाइजेशन के लिए नहीं बोला। साधना भी करते करते आपका जो बद्ध जीव है वो हो सकता है 90% बद्धा से 60% आ जाए, 60% से 20% ही बद्धा रह जाए, पर खत्म होने के लिए उसको बुद्धा बनना पड़ेगा। वो एक रियलाइजेशन की स्टेट है। इट इज फार बियॉन्ड। इफ यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड साधना से जो चीज कम हो रही है, रियलाइजेशन वो खत्म हो जाएगी। तो साधक साधना क्यों करते रहते हैं? क्योंकि वो जानते हैं कि इससे कम हो रही है। क्या यही करते करते खत्म हो जाएगी? ये नहीं है, आंसर ये नहीं है। पर साधना करनी चाहिए। साधना करते करते कम का तो एक्सपीरियंस हो ही रहा है, दैट इज गुड। मेक सेंस? रियलाइजेशन के लिए और चीजें चाहिए।
पर वो हमें पता लगता है कि ये कम हो रहा है या ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम ही पता कि ये कम हो रहा है?
नैना,
जी
पता तो लगता है बेटा। जब मैं मिली थी आपसे,
हाँ जी
तब आपका अटैचमेंट आपके पिताजी से कितना ज्यादा था? अभी कितना है?
कम है,
कम है ना?
मतलब है लेकिन समझ गई मैं। हाँ,
बिल्कुल पता चलता है कम है। बिल्कुल पता चलता है वी आर नॉट बाउंड। आर यू फॉलोइंग एवरी सिंगल वर्ड that is coming out of his mouth like you were willing to at that time?
अफेक्ट नहीं होता।
डेफिनेटली पता चलता है बेटा कम है।
Okay.
बद्धा का मतलब that we are bound and you will definitely experience that freedom. There is no question about it. If I can fast for 3 days, it is freedom. If I can go down for to 1 meal a day, it is freedom. यार, मुझे खाने की जरूरत नहीं है, मुंह में कुछ डालने की जरूरत नहीं है। इमेजिन करो वो स्टेट। आम आदमी इमेजिन नहीं कर सकता, जो साधक है वो ही इमेजिन कर सकता है।
Okay.
किताब देखने की जरूरत नहीं है, आधी चीजें याद हैं। ये तो एक डेफिनेटली एक साधक ही बोल सकता है ना। ये तो स्टेट, ये तो एक्सपीरियंस की चीज है ना? तो क्या एक्सपीरियंस होता है? डेफिनेटली साधना करने से वो बद्ध की लिमिट कम होती जाती है, बट साधना काफी नहीं है बेटा। साधना एक स्टेप है, साधना काफी नहीं है। इसके लिए हमें स्टडी करनी चाहिए। इसके लिए उपनिषद लिखे गए कि हाउ डू यू अराइव एट दैट स्टेट, हाउ डू यू अराइव एट दैट अल्टीमेट बुद्धा स्टेट। बुद्धा ने भी बहुत साधना की, बहुत साधना की। इतनी साधना की कि बिल्कुल उनकी, अगर आप फोटोज देखें जब when he received enlightenment, he's all his bones are showing. He's really thin. You see those pictures, that imagery is he's really thin. He's emancipated. He's put his body through so much. इतनी साधना की, सब छोड़ दिया। खाना छोड़ दिया, पहनना छोड़ दिया, सब छोड़ दिया। पर खाली साधना से बुद्ध नहीं बनते। बुद्ध बनने के लिए ग्रेस चाहिए। हमने तो हाथ ऊपर करा हुआ है, ऊपर से किसी को पकड़ना चाहिए। जब वो ऊपर से कोई पकड़ेगा ना बेटा, तब हम ऊपर उठ जाएंगे एकदम। आप समझे मेरी बात?
So like
साधना
Ashoka was also, उन्होंने भी तो साधना करी थी बाद में, after whatever he
he's a
did.
king, and he was a
Yeah.
very realized king, no doubt. Yeah, very successful king. पर ऊपर से बुद्धा बुद्धा का हाथ आना चाहिए ना,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right? My Guru Tattva has to be ready to pick me up out of this world. My Paramatma, my Atma has to be ready to embrace me, my consciousness. वो ऊपर से आना चाहिए. साधना से हम वहां तक नहीं पहुंच सकते, खाली साधना से वहां तक हम नहीं पहुंच सकते, वरना साधना काफी होती. वो दरवाजा कब खुलेगा और वहां से हाथ कब नीचे आएगा, ये और समझने की चीज है. और इसके लिए उपनिषद लिखे गए, षट दर्शन लिखे गए. The Jain philosophy also takes you there. The Buddhist philosophy also takes you there. Bhakti will also take you there. भक्ति तो ठीक, क्या भक्ति करने से भगवान मिल जाते हैं? आप रोज भक्ति करो, कृष्ण मिल जाएंगे, राम मिल जाएंगे. भक्ति करने से भगवान मिलते तो सभी को मिल गए होते. भगवान को भी तो आना पड़ेगा ना. जब आएंगे तभी तो मिलेंगे. वो एक अलग स्टेट है. तो जब भगवान ही आ जाएंगे तो फिर क्या दिक्कत है? सो खाली भक्ति काफी नहीं है. भक्ति से डेफिनेटली बहुत सारी चीजें कम हो सकती हैं. बद्धा का स्टेट काफी रिड्यूस हो सकता है. बॉन्डेज का स्टेट काफी रिड्यूस हो सकता है. खत्म नहीं हो सकता. खत्म होने का एक ही पॉइंट है, बुद्धा. और वो पॉइंट आने के लिए खाली साधना काफी नहीं है. यस सोनल.
So when we're talking about this, because we've talked about this in other classes, just so there's an aspect of sadhana, surrender, then grace, right? So you have to surrender and then the possibility of grace.
Right. It is, and see, that is the subject matter of the Upanishad. Any Upanishad. They are telling you how do you get there. Of course, sadhana will also, they will tell you. I explained this, no? What is the subject covered? What is the subject covered, Pulkit?
Brahma Swarupa, Shrishti, and Sadhana.
So what you haven't studied is Brahma Swarupa. Right? What you haven't studied is Brahma Swarupa. है कौन वो जो आएगा लेने के लिए? वो कैसा दिखता है? कौन से सर्कमस्टेंसेस में आएगा? वहां तक पहुंचने के लिए क्या साधना करनी पड़ेगी, क्या मेंटल एटीट्यूड चाहिए, क्या सरेंडर है? वो ब्रह्म स्वरूप. हम उसको सेपरेट कैसे करें? हमें लगने लगे, कान बजने लगे, कान में हमारे बड़ी अच्छी सी आवाज आ रही है, नाक में बहुत अच्छी सुगंध आने लगी, हमें लगा कि हम तो पहुंच ही गए. ऐसा नहीं है. सृष्टि जगत डिफरेंट है उससे, ब्रह्म से. तो वो डिफरेंस हमें पता होना चाहिए. हमें लगा कि हमारे सारे काम बनने लगे, है ना? एग्जाम में भी अच्छे मार्क्स आने लगे, पेशेंट्स भी भर भर के आने लगे, बिजनेस भी आने लगा, सारी दिक्कतें दूर हो गई. क्या ये ब्रह्मा है? ये तो जगत ही है. सो ब्रह्म स्वरूप और जगत सृष्टि, इसका डिफरेंस अगर हमें नहीं समझ में आया तो हम तो गलत चीज परसू करने लगेंगे. मैंने शुरू किया आदित्य हृदयम पिताजी के लिए. अब पिताजी पिताजी करती रहूंगी तो फिर कहाँ भगवान मिलेंगे? राइट. इफ आई थिंक माय
But
साथ.
Didi,
यस.
taking into consideration Buddha's example, अगर हमें बुद्धा स्टेट अगर अपनी फैमिली को छोड़कर खाना छोड़कर मिल रही है तो with due respect I don't want a state where our parents have nourished us so much, they have done so much for us and we are just leaving them. How is it possible? I am leaving as
I'm not
Buddha
saying you
ji.
have to do that. I'm saying read the Upanishad. There are different paths that have been given in different Upanishads
But
as to how to reach
isn't
that.
he wrong?
Why will it be wrong, beta? वो
He
बुद्धा भी
left his
वापस आ
son.
गए. Yeah, so he came back to take care of his son and took his son also to that same state of fearlessness. Took his father also to the same state of fearlessness. Took his wife also to the same state of Buddha. He made Buddha out of every single individual in his life. Not only his family, but the rest of the world also. He's given the path for that. है ना? इसमें disrespectful कुछ भी नहीं है, question सही है. और ये इसका जवाब ये नहीं है कि आपको सब चीज छोड़ के जानी है. वो तो एक एग्जाम्पल लिया मैंने आपको स्टेट समझाने के लिए. सो सारे उपनिषद जिस चीज की बात करते हैं वो मैं आपको समझा रही हूँ. किस चीज की बात करते हैं कि आप ये बद्ध जीव से बाउंड जीवात्मा, हाउ डू यू बिकम ब्रह्मा, हाउ डू यू बिकम free, how do you become Buddha? This is what is the context of all Upanishads, all Vedanta, all of our philosophy. The idea is not to tell you to leave your house. Different philosophies, different writers, different experience will explain it differently. Different audience also. जिसने क्वेश्चन पूछा उसके हिसाब से आंसर दिया गया है ना. तो इसमें ये नहीं है कि मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल दे रही हूँ बुद्धा का. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आपको घर छोड़ के जाना पड़े. घर छोड़ के भी जाके उनको कुछ मिला नहीं. द आइडिया वाज नॉट द घर छोड़ा. वो जो रियलाइजेशन आई बोधि ट्री के नीचे, जो रियलाइजेशन आई, वो दर्शन कैसे आए, क्वेश्चन ये है. वो ग्रेस हमें कब पकड़ेगी, वो हाथ नीचे कब आएगा, ये क्वेश्चन है. क्या कंडीशन है इसकी. समझे. तो अब समझ में आ गया. The context of an Upanishad is this, the subject is this. How do I arrive at that state? And different Upanishads and different teachers teach it differently. Okay. All right, we'll stop here today. I think it's been a longer class. इसकी तो पार्टी भी खत्म हो गई, घर भी आ गया. बड़ी छोटी पार्टी होती है तुम्हारी.
Actually, I left, Didi. I left.
क्यों?
I was so tired.
हाँ.
So I thought that it's better to go home.
Very good. Well done. Well done. Any other questions?
One thing, Didi, that
Haji.
we are bound with so many things. Multiple things are there that we are bound to. Somehow we try to get us free from one foundation or two foundation. On the other hand, we are bound in something other. So we are standing there only. We are getting free from the past two things, and again we come to another thing. Somehow we learned how to get free from our past fear or any kind of things, but again we develop a new foundation for ourselves.
You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that is the biggest human problem. Even the sadhaks are facing this problem. To answer that problem, to answer that question, the writings will help us. This is not just your problem. This has been faced by other people before you. And therefore, these writings have been shared with you. That is exactly where we are at today. कुछ चीजें छूट गई, पर हम छूटे नहीं. हम तो अभी भी पकड़े हुए हैं. हम तो अभी भी बद्ध हैं. कुछ चीजें जरूर छूटी हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ नहीं हुआ. डेफिनेटली कुछ चीजें छूटी हैं, मगर हम तो अभी भी इसी की जकड़ में. मोह छूट गया तो माया आ गई. माया से छूटे तो मोह में बंध गए. तो हम तो बंधे हुए ही हैं. हम तो बंधा हुआ ही जीवन व्यतीत कर रहे हैं. Because we are living this life of bondage, how do we free ourselves? This is the subject matter of an Upanishad. Yeah, बिल्कुल हम बंधे हुए हैं, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है। मैं सिर्फ यही समझा रही थी कि इसमें सत्य क्या है, सत्य क्या है। जो सत्य है वो इस सबसे ऊपर है, एक स्टेज है जो इसके भी ऊपर है, जहां ये सब चीज मैटर ही नहीं करती। आप बिल्कुल बंधे हुए नहीं रहेंगे, आप बिल्कुल फ्री हो जाएंगे। यू आर एब्सोल्युटली राइट। तो
So once you reach Buddha, or you reach that avidya, are you divine at that point? Are you, I mean, I guess we all are, but do you know what I mean? Are we considered God at that point? Like, is like, you know how some people treat Buddha like a god, right? You know, that he's a god. But is that, you know, or they call different saints Bhagwan, you know, like, are you, when you're in Vidya, are you God? Are you?
Well, to a certain extent, you're God because you're bound, you're limited by the body. To that extent, you are not. But because you are completely connected to the divine, you are. So, people who have reached that state, it is absolutely correct to call them Bhagavan. There is no difference. At least we can see Bhagwan. How does that look like? What does this free state look like?
There's still a delineation between supreme consciousness.
You see, this is a normal question. What you're asking is what Arjun also asks Krishna. You know, he says, Krishna is explaining there is a person who's absolutely fearless, you know, he reaches this place. Krishna says तो अर्जुन का क्वेश्चन है तो वो क्या करते हैं, वो क्या नॉर्मल काम करते हैं? Do they live lives normally? Do they eat, they drink? Do they do all of this also? What do they look like, Bhagwan? What is their, you know, appearance like? And he's asking Krishna, who's already there, right? This is a inconsequential question. Have they reached there? Should we call them Bhagwan? Yes. Are they worried about you? No. They're not worried about anybody. See, think about this. Why do we call? Let's do a deep delve. Why are we willing to call somebody Bhagwan? Why do we call somebody Bhagwan?
For the surrender aspect or for the
For surrender? Then it is great. You should call them Bhagwan. But mostly we call somebody Bhagwan for wish fulfillment. Mostly, why we are willing to call somebody Bhagwan for wish fulfillment. But
so
remember,
that you could become.
So you can have something in Maya. Actually, your aspirations are not so great. All the people in the world who are calling somebody Bhagwan, they are looking for wish fulfillment. Yes or no? फ्रीडम चाहिए किसी को, जिसको फ्रीडम चाहिए और वो भगवान बोल रहा है, वो बिल्कुल सही बोल रहा है। जिसको माया चाहिए और वो भगवान बोल रहा है, उससे बड़ा बेवकूफ कोई नहीं हो सकता, उसको कुछ नहीं मिलेगा। जो खुद आदमी माया से फ्री हो गया हो, वो माया तुम्हें क्यों देगा?
We have so many requirements in Gita itself. In Gita itself, that now you have quoted. Yesterday only I was reading one shloka of Adhyay 3. There Bhagwan said that मेरी कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है और मेरे पास कोई अभाव भी नहीं है, and still I am doing the niyat karma because people follows me. But हमारी तो अभाव, हमें अभाव भी है बहुत सारा, हमें आवश्यकता भी है बहुत सारी. So हम लोग फॉलो कर रहे हैं भगवान को.
Correct. So
पुनः
we have to.
I need an explanation of that. I can't understand that. I'm sorry. Could you explain that?
Abhav means paucity, and avashakta means desire. Okay. So God says, I don't have any paucity. I also do not have any desire. And I am also steeped in abundance. I have no paucity, I have abundance. And even though I have all of this, I continue to do my daily duty. So all of you are getting derailed from the context. Your idea, if somebody has reached that state, are they divine? Yes. Then we have to do a deeper delve. Why do we want them to be divine?
For me, honestly, it's more just this idea of this actual aspect of individual consciousness merging into supreme consciousness.
In that
It's not
case,
Yeah.
in that case, you are absolutely right to pursue them, to follow them, to surrender to them, because they can absolutely help you there. But if your desire is material, if your desire is wish fulfillment, if your desire is rooted in sansar, jagat, maybe you even don't know what is the definition of jagat. है ना? ऐसा भी हो सकता है मुझे किसी से प्यार है, उसने मुझे धोखा दे दिया, या मैं it is unrequited love, I cannot find that individual, and I go to so called Bhagwan. I want freedom. Is that freedom that I'm looking for? Right. So we sometimes may not be able to define what is sansar, where does the boundary of sansar ends, what is freedom. If I'm able to articulate, that's why this Upanishad is so important. There is God of death is telling you what is the ultimate. What is it that you should aim towards? भाई मांगना भी है तो मांगना क्या है ये तो पता होना चाहिए. हम तो बुद्धू हैं, हम तो बद्धा हैं, हमें तो पता ही नहीं है. So to answer your question, yes, you can absolutely follow them. But are you sure your intentions are right? Are you sure you're not going to end up asking for something in the sansar?
Honestly, for me, it's more just understanding. I don't have any. I don't have any needs. I'm here. I'm like just wondering what actually happens to them. I'm thinking about
Hey,
it more
Raja,
logistically.
understanding also without
Yeah.
the right kind of preparation can be very hard.
Right.
There is a very beautiful story. Remind me next time, I'll tell you about this box, wish fulfilling box. Just remind me next time, I'll tell you the story. Very beautiful story. There's a box that can fulfill all 3 wishes, whatever you want. And it's a very beautiful story. Don't have the time today, but I'll tell you next time. Sometimes we think, like, I may think that I know exactly what I want. Bharat may think he knows exactly what he wants. You may also be deluded into thinking you know exactly what you want. And it is not anything material, it is not desire, it is just ultimate understanding, ultimate freedom. Ultimate understanding, ultimate freedom, if that's what we were eligible for, then it would have come to us. Why it has not come is because we are not prepared. When the individual is prepared, the knowledge will descend. जितना मैं पढ़ाती हूँ उतना तो दिमाग में रुकता नहीं है, और कोई जो बुद्धा आ जाएगा तो उसकी टीचिंग कहाँ रुकेगी भाई, ये तो बताओ. 4 क्लासेस का सिनॉप्सिस बता दो मुझे, अभी कर ही नहीं पाओगे. It's not possible for you to remember everything. It is impossible. So ये जो understanding, ये भी बेटा desire ही है. You don't understand that you are still in desire. You're still in Maya. You may think you are not.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, anybody who's arrived at Buddha is definitely Bhagwan. There is no question about it. Why we are seeking that Bhagwan? Now that's a question for us to answer. Do they have any interest in us? No. Because if they had interest in us, then why would they be Buddha? They would be Buddha. Fair? Sonal? Good? Not so good? Very spotty
Yeah.
connection.
I'm good.
Just
Spotty
remind me.
connection. Yeah, I'm good.
I'll tell you the story next time. Please remind me. I'll tell you the story next time. Okay? All right, guys. Take care. I'll see you next week. Have a nice week. Namaste.
Namaste, Didi.